All right, there was another little argument, not little argument, big argument, I guess, about dating compatibility in the Jungian typology group. You can probably find it on Facebook if you want. About what's the most compatible of dating. Now, myself as an ENTP, I have no strong feelings about this because of no FI. However, that being the case, I do see the benefits of both sides of the coin because there is the golden pair side of things where you'll see this in Type Match. You'll see this with C.S. Joseph. You'll see this, I think, with Dave Superpowers too. And you'll also see the socionic side of it, which they speak more of duals. Now, myself personally, I'm going to be speaking mostly from anecdotal experience. This is the fact that I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. I've been knocking on strangers' door my entire life for about 34 years, meeting married couples, meeting people who have children, meeting just people in general. I'm very extroverted and very social. Also, I've lived in 8 states. I lived in 4 countries, and I've experienced a lot. And so this is what my observations have been. And this is why I think I can go with both sides. I can knock on my neighbor's door right now, and I will show you majority of the marriages are the golden pair side. That being said, does this mean that the dual pairing that you see in socionics is faulty and not, based upon nothing? No, it's not the case. With my friend Katrina, for instance, she's an ENFP who's married to an ISTJ, and they are happily married. She made some very good points that she has a PhD in microbiology, and he's also an academic, and so they have that connection. The reason why I think their relationship works so well is they also have their spirituality in common together, and they want to raise their children in a certain way. So there already is an NI goal already in their relationship, so that's working. That being said, I'm also aware of an INFJ who's with an ESTP. This seems to be pretty common too. However, INFJs are very hard to find. And so it would not be the most common outside of typology circles. And so you would not expect that if you're an ESTP. If you're an ESTP, more than likely, and you're a male ESTP, you're more than likely going to marry an ISFJ female because they're going to be around. ISTJ females are not very common either. If you want to find one as an ESTP, I suggest you go to, a tax office, some kind of law firm, maybe a teacher, some kind of professor, maybe a bank manager, but usually that's ESTJs. And my experience when an ESTP male is married to an SJ woman, it's been ESTJs. I've noticed that because ESTJ females seem to be pretty plentiful in my experience. So let's go over the 3 different ones right here. I got my little stupid teacher mat board. The golden pair, as an ENTP, the golden pair is an INTJ. Let me tell you the issues I have with this. I have never met a gay INTJ. Okay, so I have never dated this. I've dated 2 ENTJs. I've dated an ISFP, and all of them were great. I had great chemistry with both of them. They liked me as well. The only difference is we had different life goals, but that's also another issue with me because I date people who are much older than me, and that's an issue. One day maybe I will date somebody my own age, but this seems to be an issue with the ENTPs. They tend to date really older than them or really younger than them, which is weird. I don't know, sorry. The pedagogue relationship, ENTP with the INFJ. This had very good emotional connection in a way because the INFJ has FE parent, which is going to be the responsible FE user over my FE child. And however, this did you feel like you're getting constantly, not reprimanded, I guess, but it is kind of like, oh, you need to care more. You need to care more. You need to care more. And I'm always like, well, you need to think more. You need to think more. And to his TI child, even though, and he would listen to it, which is kind of interesting to me. The pedagogue relationship, I highly recommend it. In this case, generally speaking, we brought up ESTPs going with the ISFJ, that'd be their pedagogue. What this means is the SE-SI is linked in perfectly for maximum sexual compatibility. And then, but they share the same emotional and mental functions. The dual, this is socionics, which I know very little about. I'll be honest about that. I haven't paid any mind or attention to it. It's a completely different I guess, letter scheme. And so I don't really feel like learning another one. I'm barely staying interested in what I know right now. Uh, with them, they're going to mix the ENTP with the ISFJ. I spelled that wrong. I put ISTJ. ENTP ISTJ is not a good thing. I not do well with that. But with ISFJ, um, this is kind of funny when it comes to dual, and this is what I think it means. Dual to me is love at first sight. When you're thinking of dual relationships, to me, I've had great chemistry with ISFJs. I had great chemistry with ESFJs at first, and then eventually we start to wear on each other because we're too much alike. This has been my experience in this, and with the gay thing, also this also is an issue sexually because SI users tend to be bottoms and SE users tend to be tops naturally, and so this is going to be one dominant, one sub in the gay community. That being said, from my experience, abstracts are generally versatile, and that's about as explicit as I'm going to get on that subject. With straight relationships, obviously, I have never been in one, but from what I've learned, it doesn't really matter. Straight sex seems to be very complicated and hard to get both to orgasm at the same time, and so sexual compatibility is I don't know, maybe not even a thing. So maybe you'll see more in straight relationships, the duals making a lot more sense. Because when it comes to a mature relationship, having a conversation about sex and what your needs are and what you want can happen, and anybody can fulfill that role for somebody else if you love them. However, I do feel that what you do naturally is going to be easier. Gay sex is simple. It's very straightforward and easy. I don't know. Maybe lesbians are different. I don't know. Maybe it's the women's fault. Let's add that in there. But uh, yeah, it's not that big of an issue for me. But my best sexual experiences as an ENTP have been with ESTPs, which are SE hero with SI inferior, and these. Are just from the efficiency standpoint of that. So what do we need to think about this? Well, you have lots of different factions, lots of different little cults and dogmatic viewpoints on dating and things like that. For me, I see both sides of the story. People who have strong FI, typically speaking, are very dogmatic about that. We have an ENTJ or an ESTJ in the group who thinks he's an ENTP, who likes to copy and paste from socionics books to sound smart because he's insecure about his intelligence, is somebody who gets FI very dogmatic about certain things, and it shows a lot of hate and a lot of animosity towards C.S. Joseph, for instance, and this is typically speaking with the FI users. I myself don't have these issues. Like I try to make a point with them. I've been shunned and ostracized by everyone in my family, and yet I have no animosity or hatred towards them, and I'm totally cool with them. I understand the circumstances. They're in a cult. I can't hold them responsible for their actions because they're brainwashed and manipulated into doing something they don't really want to do. And so it's hard for me to sympathize with other people. And so this could be an issue. So there are conflicts when you're talking golden pair because FI and FE don't necessarily think the same way about emotional content and right and wrong. And so there is conflict with the golden pairs right away. So there could be friction in that situation. But however, once you adapt and learn from each other, the relationship gets really good. And so when you look at, standard marriages, for the most part, you see the most typical male is ESFP, the most typical female is ISFJ. And this is so normal. It's just ridiculous. And to find an ESFP male with an ISFJ female is just over the top, common. It's everywhere. Find an ESFJ female with an ISFP male, it's everywhere. And so that's an interesting thing that the socionics crowd are completely denied this fact and evidence right there in front of their face because they are emotionally attached to socionics and that TE connection with whatever book they're reading. It's silly to me. I think it's irresponsible in their thought process, and I think it's incredibly, it's ignorant. That being said, I think there is something to duels. Like I mentioned, it's like love at first sight type of thing with the duel, because you think similar, you feel similar, you want similar comforts, or you have similar goals. And so there is a similarity there with the duels. And so that could be attractive at first. However, if you want to build yourself as a person, I feel this is not the way to go. This is also transcultural. You'll see this also, in different countries. Like I've mentioned, I've lived over Europe, I've lived in South America, Mexico. I've spoken with people in Asia, and you still see, the golden pair and the dual dynamics. It's just people are complicated, and relationships are issues, and there's different things in this world. And now that we have online dating and access to so many different people, keeping a relationship together is hard because there's so many options out there and so many ways to do it. Let's just make this a little bit light and funny at the very end. I'm initially attracted. I'm dating an ENTJ currently, and we watch TV shows, and who he's attracted to are typically more muscular men, more of the what I would consider GQ, more pretty boys and things like that, which I'm initially turned off by. I see, and it just turned me off for many times of dating ENTJs and ENFJs for that matter, because of SE Child being so optimistically good looking and caring about working out so much and muscles and all that kind of stuff. And I find this shallow. But after getting to know the person, I can look past that and realize it's not shallow. They just care. And that's something that should be respected. And there's nothing wrong with going to the gym. There's nothing wrong with looking in a mirror and making yourself look good. There's nothing wrong with wearing makeup. That's all great. I mean, that just tells you that those people care about other people, and so in a way it looks selfish and superficial, but in reality it's not. And who I'm attracted typically on TV shows, I prefer men who are not muscular, maybe a slightly, chubby. And that's typically what I'm going to look at. People will say that's bearish, and so I am attracted to ISFJ characters in TV shows and reality TV shows, and this makes sense. However, from my experience in dating ISFJs, there's an issue with this, because ISFJs are pure bottoms, typically speaking, in the gay culture, and that's going to be an issue because they're looking for somebody to dominate them. And in an ENTP ISFJ relationship, that means that's going to fall on the ENTP's responsibility, because I have the highest NI of the relationship, and NI nemesis isn't something I like to use on a regular basis, especially not with other people. It's something I do when I'm by myself and introverting, and so that's going to be an issue with that. But there is chemistry with the duel, and I get that, and I respect that, and I see, marriages and things like that. But then you also see, golden pair marriages that break apart, have fiery divorces, and it's just interesting when you talk about humans. But I've been rambling too much about this. Put some comments in the description. Put comments down there if you want to cover something else.